Namaste to all. A very, very important question. The question is, sir, I often discuss about Almighty God with my Muslim friend, but time and again we come into this argument of God's omnipresence in the Vedas. My Muslim friend says that Allah is not omnipresent. He is Ekdeshi, he sits somewhere else, but he has the power to control the entire universe from that distance. Though you say about your Vedas, saying that Almighty God is omnipresent, God is present even in the dirtiest places, but the dirtiness cannot touch Almighty God. All those logics are fine, but still, God need not be omnipresent to control the universe. Our Allah is somewhere else and He has the power to control the universe. So, my question to you is, why God has to be omnipresent as per Vedas? Can you give a clarity here on the omnipresence topic? Yeah, this is a very, very important point. It's not about Allah or, Om in the Vedas. It's about understanding the Vedic concepts very clearly. See, Quran is a book which was revealed 1400 years back. Although I have seen many videos of Zakir Naik and other Muslim scholars who say that, Quran was revealed because the knowledge of the Quran could not have been understood by human beings before. So Allah thought that 1400 years before only the humankind got matured enough to understand the message of Quran. That's why it was revealed at that point of time. But before that, God has sent many prophets and messengers and many books. So these are some of the knowledge or arguments by Zakir Naik and other Muslim brothers. So I don't want to get into that topic. But one thing which is having a very clear contradiction is about God's omnipresence in Vedas and Quran. So now we have two options. Point number one is take at its face value that God is omnipresent. It's mentioned in Vedas. I don't have a doubt. Take it at face value. And point number two is, yes, we can go to a Samadhisti yogi who has a pratyaksha of Almighty God. See, when a yogi realizes Almighty God, as per Yajurveda's 40th chapter, I have made that mantras, I explained that mantra meaning many times. That yastu sarvani bhutani atmanne vanupashyati. So in that mantra, the yogi, God says, when that yogi realizes, he realizes about God's omnipresence. He realizes, he does not see by his eyes, but he realizes by his antaratma that God is present everywhere. And because of God's omnipresence, this universe actually functions. If God is ekdeshi, if God sits somewhere, even a minute electron, proton, neutron cannot function. So God's omnipresence is important for this functioning of this universe. This is what we must understand from the Vedas. So now from this point of view, it might look that, why God has to present everywhere to make this universe function? Instead of that, if God is Sarva Shaktiman, He must make this universe function being sitting at some point somewhere else also, right? So this is a logical point which comes to our mind that probably omnipresence is not needed. So I will try to explain to you with some Bhautik example so that you can try to relate. For example, you are watching a television. You are like, let's say 10 feet away from the TV. You are sitting and it's a big screen and you are seeing the TV. So, and you are seeing Sony TV. For example, you are watching Sony TV or Sun TV. You want to change the channel. So there are two options in your hand. You can walk to the TV and change the channel, or else you can have your remote control in your hand to change the channel. So you have the power to change the channel without being physically present near the TV through the remote control. So we can assume that Allah has a power to control the universe without being physically present is the logical argument by a Muslim brother. But here we must understand, to control the TV, you need a remote. That means when the remote was not created, when the remote control was not created, how the TV was controlled or how the universe was controlled when the remote control or some equipment or some instrument, it is a very divine instrument for sure. When the divine instrument was not created, how the universe was controlled. This we must question, not question the Muslim brother to win over an argument, to question ourselves so that we can understand about God's omnipresence. Because winning an argument with Muslim brother or losing an argument does not matter at all. What matters is whether we are getting the knowledge. See, because when you understand finally that God is omnipresent, you will not do those karmas where you see here and there and then do. For example, somebody is smoking cigarette and his father or mother does not know that he is smoking cigarette. Every time before he smoke, he will see here and there whether my parents are not here, whether somebody who is known to me is not here, because they will inform my parents, and if my parents comes to know, they will beat me. So, but when you understand that, okay, even though my parent is not here, Almighty God is here, and Almighty God will punish me for smoking cigarette. I'm just taking an example. Then you will not smoke cigarette. So God's omnipresence is known. God is revealing through the Vedas for us to understand that don't do any karma which is against your nature. That means whenever you see here and there and do a karma, or whenever you feel extreme shyness within you before doing a karma, don't do this karma, because it is against the nature, it's against Almighty God, it's against Vedas. And I am watching you, I know your karma. This is what God says in the Vedas. So God's omnipresence has a very secretive value in our life so that we can walk the path of Dharma. So now coming to this example of remote control. Before creation of remote control, how the TV was controlled, or before creating an instrument which Almighty God, Allah probably is using, how the universe was controlled. Or we can also say that that instrument which is used to control this universe is created instrument. So who creates that instruments which is used by Almighty God to control the universe? Actually, there is no instrument like that. God need not need any instrument as per Vedas. God does not need any dependency on any person or any object to control or to run this universe. For creation, sustenance and destruction, God is independent. God does not have any dependency on any object. So that logic rules out. Like, if you have to use a remote control to control the universe, then you are dependent and you cannot be almighty. Number one. And number two is, you are a human and you are chitta. You think through your mind. We all, either you are a Muslim or a atheist or a Hindu or a Vedic follower, you will surely understand that you have a mind, you have an intellect, you think, you take decisions. Vedas says that God is omnipresent, that before you act, that the moment you have a thinking in your mind, Almighty God knows that thinking. And mansa vacha karmanah, God gives the result of even for your thought. That means even if you are not committed a sin, but you have thought about to commit a sin, God will punish you for that sin, because God knows your thoughts. In the case of Ekdeshi means present at one place and controlling the universe. For God to know about our thoughts, He has to have a powerful instrument to collect the thoughts from the mind. And that instrument, how much soever divine, that instrument might get spoiled one day, and that was because it was created one day, it will get destroyed one day. So after the destruction of that instrument and prior to the creation of that instrument, how God would have known the knowledge inside our human minds, and how God will know our karmas. See, if God is not omnipresent, this is a very, very important point. If God is not omnipresent, God can never do justice. God can never be impartial. God will be partial, because God will not have 100% information. And even though, let's for argument's sake, God is sitting somewhere else and then He is controlling the universe and He gets all the information through an instrument, that instrument cannot pass on 100% information as it is. See, for example, there are 6 or 7 billion population. 7 billion only human population. There are trillions of small insects, billions of trees, billions of other living things, and trillions to the power of trillions electrons, protons. How God knows every information, and what is that instrument which is forwarding that knowledge to that Almighty God? And even though if there is such an instrument which is collecting and forwarding that information, that instrument will have some energy loss. So 100% of the information will not be transmitted. There will be some loss. So God does not have 100% of information, because Assuming that God has such an instrument, then also God will not have 100% of the information. If God does not have 100% of the information, God will surely become partial, because without the information he cannot do justice. But even if he does justice without the information, he will be partial. He may try to he might end up doing mistakes. So all these things, logically we must think, not to disprove Quran, but to understand about the truthfulness of Vedas and Almighty God. Because God is present everywhere, he need not walk to a place to adjust the TV. He did not do any walking, or he controls as it is, because he is present everywhere. That is the uniqueness of Almighty God. See, if God is Ekdeshi, God is present somewhere else, he cannot get the information across the universe without any other instrument. This we must understand clearly. And if that instrument exists, that instrument must have been created by somebody else who might be more superior to that God. Or if we say that God only creates the instrument, then God is dependent upon that instrument. And when that instrument gets destroyed or instrument gets into trouble, then God does not have the information. And that is not the situation in the Vedas. So it's not about Quran, it's always about understanding who is that true Almighty God. And God says in the Vedas that when somebody realizes me, tatona vichikitsate, that person does not have any doubt, because he has understood my omnipresence. That person does not have any doubt on my creation. He does not have any doubt on my powers. He does not have any doubt on my omnipresence. He does not have any doubt on Prakriti, Jivatma, Paramatma, and he does not have any doubt on karma philosophy, because he has realized me in Samadhi. So always rely and trust books which speaks about taking you towards moksha, taking you towards getting rid of the birth and death cycle. So this we must be clear. Otherwise, God's omnipresence is always a question mark, because we do not have full trust on Almighty God's Vedas. A person can be a Muslim and he can say that Quran are the true books, but even that person is controlled by Almighty God of the Vedas. Even that person's karma is counted by Almighty God, because God is omnipresent. This we must understand very clearly, and we must always oblige ourselves, be humble, and always follow only Vedas. We must reject all the other books, because Vedas are emanating from Almighty God. Purnamadaha Purnamidam. I made a separate video on this topic also. Please go through it. Thank you so much. Namaste. Om.